Did I ever tell you the Crossland Lecture Theatre story?
No, I've never heard that story. Please go on.
Okay then. Well, it all began one Thursday morning. The first Thursday of the semester, to be precise.
I see.
We didn't have a maths tutorial since it was the first week of the semester, so I was walking to the lecture by myself. As I approached the Parsons building steps, I noticed that one of the guys in my class was just ahead of me.
Who was it?
I'll get to that later. Don't interrupt me. So anyway, where was I? Alright, I remember. I had just noticed that one of the guys in the class was just ahead of me. So after that I went into the building. Now I should probably put this into context for you.
Please do.
Okay then. So, the timetable stated that the lecture was meant to be in the Crossland Lecture Theatre. Now initially I didn't even know which building that was in, let alone where it was located within the building. So after consulting the last page in the third-year handbook, I saw that the Crossland Lecture Theatre was situated in the Parsons building.
The one with the gammy steps in front of it?
Yes, that very building. So anyway, while walking to the Parsons building, my trepidation about finding the lecture theatre had been building.
I can only imagine.
I know. But as I was saying, I entered the Parsons building and went through the second set of doors after that. Then suddenly the guy from my class, who was ahead of me, turned round. Now, I had never really talked to this guy before the Tuesday of that very week. Let me explain.
Of course.
So, I'm in Group 3 and on Tuesday we had our first 2 labs of the semester. The guy who was ahead of me on the steps happened to be in Group 4. That meant that we were in the same group for the lab session. During the course of the first hour I discovered that his name is Paul.
Oh? I know Paul.
I'm glad. I'm sure it will help you to understand the rest of the story. We left the story at the moment that Paul had turned around suddenly.
Yes, we did.
After he had turned around, he asked me if I knew where the Crossland Lecture Theatre was. I told him that I hadn't a clue. I then suggested that we should go and ask someone at the reception desk.
Good idea.
He thought it was too. So I turned to my right to head up the couple of steps up to the reception area when I noticed a sign attached to the wall to my left-hand side. The sign stated Crossland Lecture Theatre 2.03, and it had an arrow pointing over to the stairs. I turned to Paul and said, 2.03. That means that it's probably on the second floor.
Good thinking.
He seemed to think so too. So, we went up the stairs and on the next floor there was a sign indicating that the Crossland Lecture Theatre was through the doors. This confused me slightly since I presumed that, having only gone up 1 flight of stairs, that I was on the first floor.
Naturally.
Nevertheless, I proceeded to go through the doors. Then I saw Dan and Kevin talking to each other just to the right-hand side of the door.
Those Egypts?
Yes. I went over to talk to them. I can't remember what we talked about anymore. It's been so long. It was only for a few minutes anyway, so it's probably not important. Actually, maybe it was about the football from the night before. I think Arsenal were playing or something. I'm not sure. But as I said, it's not important.
Okay.
After a few minutes other people started to head into the lecture theatre. We followed them in. It was a strange-looking place. The sloped seating is on your right-hand side as you walk in, and they are blocked from view with white painted wooden boards. Anyway, we sat near the back, as always. Too cool for school and all that.
Yes. You lot are pretty all right.
I know. Anyway, as I was saying, we sat down near the back and continued to talk. Probably about the match. Then Brendan came in and gave us a lecture. Fascinating as always. Although, for some reason, the others didn't seem to think so. Don't really understand that myself. Nothing more invigorating than learning about flocculated soil particles in my book.
Right.
So the lecture flew by, and in no time at all it was finished.
A pity the same cannot be said about this story.
What was that?
Oh, nothing. Continue.
Okay then. So we exited the Crossland lecture theatre in an orderly fashion after the lecture was over. Then on the way down the steps I decided to tell Dan and Kevin about my morning.
And then what happened?
What do you mean? Then I told them the Crossland lecture theatre story. Obviously.
F M L